So last week we covered all kinds of turmoil over at OpenAI. Sam Altman, the CEO, he was kicked out by the board. Yeah. He was brought on by Microsoft. Then he was brought back in over at OpenAI. There were a lot of questions about like what is going on and why is this happening right now. Reuters got a look at a potential reason for why this action was taken at this moment. Let's put this up on the screen. So they say ahead of OpenAI CEO Sam Altman's 4 days in exile, several staff researchers wrote a letter to the board of directors warning of a powerful artificial intelligence discovery that they said could threaten humanity. This was according to 2 people familiar with the matter. That's what they told Reuters. That previously unreported letter and AI algorithm were key developments before the board's ouster of Altman, according to those 2 sources. So OpenAI declined to comment, but they did acknowledge in an internal message to staffers a project called Q-Star. The OpenAI spokesperson said the message sent by a longtime executive alerted staff to certain media stories without commenting on their accuracy. Some at OpenAI believe that Q-Star could be a breakthrough in the startup's search for what's known as artificial general intelligence. One of the people told Reuters, OpenAI defines AGI as autonomous systems that surpass humans in most economically valuable tasks. So we have a lot of details about what this alleged breakthrough is, or even, additional reporting about whether this is in fact accurate. But the reason that this potentially tracks Saagar is because the divide in the AI community, as reflected in the divide within OpenAI, is between the tech optimists who are basically like, let her rip, let's go make tons of money, let's just like develop this like crazy, let's see what we can do, let's push the boundaries here. And more of the, it's actually a lot of like effective altruists, but that side of the tech community that is very worried about the risks of AI development, what it could mean for humanity, what it could mean for jobs, what it could mean for potential dangers for the future. And with Sam Altman being brought back in, effectively his side of the tech optimist piece won out, and the people who want to just profit as much as possible, put it in the hands of corporations like Microsoft and develop it to its fullest extent right now with few guardrails, that side of the equation seems to be winning out. Yeah,
I have complicated feelings on this because I understand that that's a useful framework, but the thing is about Sam and these effective altruists and others is that, yeah, they believe in the profit and all of that, but really what they believe is it's like responsible AI. And what they mean by that is pairing with giant corporations like Microsoft and regulation and control so that they're the only ones that really get to use the technology. So I kind of find myself in a more anarchist position with AI where my deepest suspicion doesn't actually come through, like, oh, they're going to replace us and all of this. My fear is exactly what's happening right now, which is total corporate capture and control, where effectively we're watching Microsoft develop the world's greatest office enterprise technology and all of the money being funneled into how to make Word, Excel, and Skype calls and Teams more efficient, which is, in my opinion, the worst use of research dollars and other things, as opposed to actually helping people. And so watching really what it is the titans of Google and Facebook and Microsoft now basically capture the entire stream of AI development and others makes me more worried about the future than any sort of AI breakthrough that's going to, replace all of our jobs and other this. So some of this was, captured in the CNBC interview where they talk here about how Microsoft, Satya Nadella, really is the true winner. Here's what they had to say.
The golden child, Altman, is ultimately really in Microsoft's hands. And I think the way they played this was a poker move for the ages for Nadella. And I think as it plays out, you had the little kids playing checkers at the kids' table in terms of the OpenAI board, and then the chess master came in here. And I think right now it's Microsoft just that much more of a flex the muscles on AI. What you want to see from Jassy and AWS, okay, what are you bringing? Show us the technology. How could I have confidence from a share perspective that you're not going to be potentially the third player behind Microsoft, behind Google? This is an arms race playing out. And right now, Microsoft, and they're popping champagne in Redmond because of the way Nadella played this out.
The capped profit structure that Sam instituted in 2019. The idea here was to cap investors' profits at 100 times their original investment, because he suggested that if OpenAI could get to so-called artificial generalized intelligence, which is this sort of more sophisticated AI that we seem to be moving toward quickly, that it could be so powerful and so lucrative that he wanted these investors not to sort of hold all of the value in the world. In fact, he spoke at one of my events for Strictly VC, which is now a subsidiary of TechCrunch. And he said that if OpenAI manages to crack this particular nut, it could, quote, maybe capture the light cone of all future value in the universe. And that for sure is not okay for one group of investors to have.
Yeah, so the future value of all, who's going to own that? OpenAI and Microsoft. So really, again, let's look at who he actually replaced the board with. Let's put this please up there on the screen that Kevin Roose wrote about AI belongs to the capitalists. You have freaking Larry Summers here on the board. I mean, like a cartoonish figure of quote unquote responsible corporate capitalism. And then you have a former Dropbox executive and Adam D'Angelo of Quora. So if you put all this together, Krystal, where I look at it is I am most afraid of exactly what's happening right now, where AI is becoming a corporate tool of of not only white collar industry, but just like plussing up any sort of HR and other stuff, as opposed to funneling towards technology that would actually help most Americans in their daily lives. They're trying to focus on reducing HR costs and legal fees and all that. Listen, I support all of that. But should that really be the sole driver of our innovation? This is why I think some of the conversation around this can get really muddled.
Well, there's a lot of different levels.
Yeah.
So the piece you're pointing to, what are corporations incentivized to develop? They are incentivized to develop anything that's going to be profitable to them. There will be many applications, potential applications of AI that would benefit humanity that would not be particularly profitable.
Yes.
Those are not going to be developed. Like, that's the reality. On the other hand, what do corporations love to do? Eliminate human beings and their usefulness and their jobs. Because human beings cost a lot of money and they take sick days and they have babies and they're complicated and whatever. So let's get rid of them. Let's get rid of their jobs. And so there will be huge incentive to develop AI that can enable the elimination of jobs. So that's the corporate piece that you're pointing to. But my feelings about AI sort of ranges from terror to comedy. I don't know if you guys saw, there's a story about, was it ESPN or
Sports Illustrated.
Sports Illustrated,
Sports Illustrated,
that got caught using these AI-generated articles. And they were preposterous. Like, they were so bad. The writing was so weird and clunky. It was like an alien, trying to write about volleyball or whatever it was. And then on the other hand, you have this story reported out by the New York Times that the deployment of AI-controlled drones that can make autonomous decisions about whether to kill human targets is moving closer to reality. Lethal autonomous weapons that can select targets using AI are being developed by the US, China, and Israel. Killer robots that can autonomously decide whether you're going to live or die. So, and obviously for the military-industrial complex, that is very profitable as well. So that's like the nexus of both the terror of what this could mean for humanity and also the profit motive. So that's why it's troubling that the people, it's not just who was put on the board, the people who were taken off the board were the people who were like, the more of the academics, the technologists who were concerned with some of the direction, both in terms of the corporate capture and also in terms of what this could mean for jobs and what this could mean for the future of humanity. Those people are taken out and frickin' Larry Summers brought in.
Yeah, I know. The Summers piece is particularly offensive to me. It also, though, part of what I get the most skeptical about are all these AI safety advocates, where I'm like, what are we saying here? Like, what are you trying to program in here? And I see the government and Biden stepping in, being like, we need an AI Bill of Rights. And I'm like, well, maybe conceptually, but I don't actually trust you to be able to implement this into the technology at all. I think there needs to be some level of democratic input. So I'm genuinely
But the democratic input, I mean, that's what the government is supposed to be.
Yes, well, not, but the White House is
That's the idea, that the government is supposed to be where the democratic input comes from.
Yes, but I think it needs to come through Congress and not from the White House and top down. And actually, my bigger fear is less about the government, at least right now, because they're not doing anything. It's all these fake nonprofits that are out there being like, we're developing the AI code about this and that. There's already been problems with ChatGPT around political bias and all these other things. And that's where where I fear is the concentration of AI in basically woke capitalism, where through Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Facebook applied almost entirely to enterprise technology, and you're just gonna have software rule your drone cubicle life if you happen to even make the cut for afterwards. And I genuinely think that is what the future of this is going to look like, as opposed to all of our daily lives changing. I just think white collar work is the only thing which will marginally change, but in my opinion, probably in a worse direction where things are more automated. But the hope that I have here is that in every case, like the Sports Illustrated and others, these things have turned out to be so clownish that it just reveals to us how in some ways it's so far away. Like, we're not even close to AI being able to replace a human journalist. It would take 5 to maybe 10 years. And we heard for years about car development. I talk about the self-driving car thing a lot. Yeah, automated autopilot is cool, but can it turn left really well yet? No. And it's taken them, Tesla's been around since 2008, working on this technology, and they have billions and billions of dollars that they've thrown into it, and they still haven't really mastered it. So, and we saw the Austin example about all those self-driving cabs that come like this. This is a really, really difficult problem to solve. I'm less worried as some people are.
The military application to me is really scary because let's imagine, we can already see like what Israel's doing in Gaza right now, that there isn't a lot of concern for who's a civilian and who's a combatant and who's a woman and a child and who's an actual Hamas militant, et cetera. So while the technology may not be all the way there in terms of discriminating, they may not really care. I don't think that there's any evidence that they would really care. And so if it's an autonomous drone that's murdering people, like there's no chance of accountability. At least if it's a human operator, there's some sort of a chain of command, at least there's a possibility of holding some sort of human being accountable. If you have drones that are able to themselves decide who gets to live and who gets to die, and this is actively in development by us, China, and Israel, and getting closer and closer to fruition, yeah, that's something I'm very concerned about right now in the near term.
I think that's fair. Look, humans are always going to have to make some sort of decision. So this is something I talked about with Mark Andreessen. It's like, at the end of the day, like, humans are going to have a tremendous level of input. And, we can think about that. What is the true difference between where we are right now, where Israel decides where to bomb, and yet they use a JDAM, a guided precision bomb, where we pick the target, and then the missile and computer targeting systems work to hit that? There will always be some level of decision-making that gets programmed into it from what the actual want of the person is. So what truly separates that? Is it just that we can deliver the bomb in a quicker manner? Because at the end of the day, like, the human discretion and the political determination of how and what it will be used, I don't think that's going away anytime soon. Maybe the AI can roll this clip of me 100 years from now and make fun of me while my grandchildren are living in the Matrix, but we'll see.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right, we're subscriber funded, we're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.